All right, let's jump right into this deep dive. We've been looking at a really interesting source today. It's an episode from a Nigerian podcast.
That's right, yeah, Naija Conversations. And the episode was called The Naija Hustle, Making It in the City. It gives a real picture of what it takes to get by and maybe even succeed in these incredibly busy Nigerian cities. Think Lagos, Abuja.
Okay. And our mission here really is to unpack what they shared, what are the key takeaways, the lessons you can learn about surviving, maybe even thriving, and just building resilience in these tough urban spots.
Yeah, it's a very specific context, that Nigerian city hustle, but honestly, a lot of the insights they pull out they feel pretty universal, don't they?
Absolutely. So the first thing the source really emphasizes is kind of striking. Just living in a city like Lagos or Abuja, they actually call it full-time work.
Yeah, that phrase really jumped out. City life is full-time work. They talk about the daily grind, just surviving the morning traffic, the madness of waking up super early. They compare it to feeling like you've already run a marathon. And that's before your actual workday even begins.
Wow. That comparison alone, it tells you so much about the intensity. Sounds exhausting.
It really does. But the interesting thing isn't just that it's hard. It's that people, they don't just cope, they actively push. There's this incredible resilience they tap into, like, every single day.
Okay, so that's the foundation, this sheer, relentless difficulty you just have to push through. But then the source makes this really important distinction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not only about working hard like brute force.
Exactly. That's where they pivot. You have to work smart. And this is where they bring in emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. In the middle of all that chaos, like Lagos traffic, how does that work?
Well, they give this brilliant example. Say you've just fought your way through the commute, maybe on a packed bus, a malu, they call it. You arrive angry, totally frazzled. If you just carry that raw anger straight into the office, well, your innocent colleague might collect stray bullet, as they put it.
Ouch. Yeah, I can picture that. Taking your stress out on someone completely uninvolved.
Totally. And the bigger idea is, if you don't figure out how to process that frustration, how to manage your own feelings when everything outside is chaotic, the city it can swallow you. You have to navigate your inner world just as much as the streets.
So working smart really starts inside with managing your own reactions. That's a powerful way to think about it. Okay, so staying on this working smart track, what else does the source say the city teaches you specifically?
They focus on two key things. Legos, in particular, drills into you urgency and strategy.
Okay, urgency, that makes sense. Getting up at 4 a.m., like you said, that's definitely urgent. But strategy, how does strategy fit in?
Well, the urgency gets you moving, right?
Yeah.
But strategy is what lets you scale to actually grow and navigate things effectively. And this leads into one of the most intriguing concepts they discussed, something called ethical dark psychology, or maybe conversational hypnosis.
Whoa, hang on. Ethical dark psychology. That sounds like a contradiction in terms. How can something be dark and ethical?
Yeah, it sounds a bit dramatic, but it's not about manipulation in a bad way. The source explains it more like deeply understanding the system, how people interact, how influence actually works, but without being deceitful or unethical.
So it's more about social intelligence.
Exactly. Highly tuned social skills. They mention things like mirroring someone's tone of voice, matching their energy level, using rhythm and pauses when you speak, even mirroring body language subtly.
And the idea is to build unconscious trust.
Isn't it? Precisely. And they even talk about the skill of making someone feel like an idea you suggested was actually their own. It's subtle. They used a specific example like pitching a business idea to a client in Abuja.
Right.
You need to kind of mirror their way of speaking, their energy, because, as they put it, demno de listen to noise. You have to connect on their level first.
Ah, okay. So you're kind of speaking their unspoken language to build rapport before you even get to the main point. So this ethical dark psychology is really about mastering the art of, how did they say it? Sabi read the room.
That's exactly. Sabi means like to know how or to understand. So Sabi read the room. You have this deep understanding of the social dynamics, the people, the undercurrents. And the source argues that cities like Lagos really reward people who can do that well.
Okay, so we've got the intensity, the need for emotional smarts, these strategic social skills. But the source also really stresses something else, something that feels like it could easily get lost in that constant hustle mindset.
Oh, absolutely. They make it crystal clear. Balancing the hustle with your mental health is non-negotiable. Rest isn't just nice to have. They explicitly say it's part of the hustle.
That seems almost paradoxical, doesn't it? Compared to the wake up at 4 a.m., never stop idea we were just talking about, how do they square that?
They talk about the consequences if you don't rest. You simply break down. People running on empty, they say, start to look like they're fighting invisible enemy, or they feel like they never rest since 2017.
Wow, that paints a picture.
It's just not sustainable. So rest becomes a strategic input, something you need for endurance, for the long haul. It's actually essential for the hustle.
Rest as a strategy. Okay, that reframes it nicely.
Hmm.
Now, even with all these challenges, the source is also clear that people do succeed. They find ways to win in the city. What examples did they share?
Yeah, they gave some really concrete ones, like a woman who started selling food trays, just initially on Instagram, right? And she grew it to the point where she's now supplying major banks.
That's impressive.
Or another example, a guy making funny skits on TikTok who managed to land a proper brand deal. So these aren't just theories. People are actually making things happen.
And they pinpointed a kind of subtle secret behind these successes. What was that?
Consistency. They said you have to treat consistency like a religion. It's not about sudden breakthroughs usually. It's the daily grind, showing up again and again, even when progress feels slow. That relentless effort eventually cuts through the noise.
And I had that great quote, consistency is lighter than talent.
Yeah, that one really lands. It suggests that in such a competitive, noisy environment, just having talent might not be enough. But consistent effort, sheer energy, they use the phrase energy past grammar, that can make the real difference.
Energy past grammar. I like that. It speaks volumes about the practical, maybe less polished, but effective nature of the hustle.
Showing up with energy can sometimes be more powerful than having the perfect credentials or speaking flawlessly.
Okay, so beyond the external stuff like consistency and strategy, they also talked about the internal side of things, mastering your inner game.
This is all about how you talk to yourself, how you handle setbacks, your ability to bounce back after rejection, because the city, this kind of environment, it throws a lot at you. How you mentally process all that is critical.
And they suggested that these challenges, these rejections, they actually help to reprogram your identity. What do they mean by that? How does that reprogramming work? What kind of identity gets built?
The idea seems to be that constantly being tested forces you to adapt, right? To maybe let go of old assumptions, to build a stronger core self that's more resilient, less easily knocked off course. The struggles aren't just things to overcome, they actively shape who you become.
Right.
And this ties into another really interesting idea they mention, spiritual patience.
Spiritual patience. In a city like Lagos that's known for being fast-paced, that sounds like another contradiction. What kind of patience are we talking about?
It does sound counterintuitive, yeah. But they broke it down. They talked about patience with your own journey, understanding that things take time. Patience with other people, which you absolutely need in a crowded, high-pressure place.
Definitely.
And maybe most importantly, patience with yourself. It's this deep-seated patience that comes from persistence, from believing in the process even when results are immediate. Patience with yourself.
Yeah, that feels crucial when you're constantly facing external pressures and maybe internalizing failures.
Yeah.
Like the quiet balance to all that urgent energy we talked about.
It really is. It's the anchor for that inner game you need to master.
So if we try and pull all these different threads together, the intensity, the smarts, the strategy, the emotional side, resting, being consistent, the inner work, the patience, the source kind of offers this unifying way to see anyone involved in this hustle, no matter their specific job.
Yeah, they put it very clearly, very powerfully. You are a builder.
A builder, I like that. Not just a survivor, not just someone scraping by, but someone actively constructing something, their life, their business, their future, brick by brick through that daily effort.
Exactly. And they really drive it home by saying, no hustle too small, no dream too big. It doesn't matter if you're driving a tricycle taxi, a keek, or working online, or in an office, or trading goods. The fundamental identity is one of building. And they add, you need to be emotionally alert while you're doing it.
So being a builder in that kind of environment demands full presence, mentally, emotionally. Okay. And then finally, the source kind of grounds all this ambition and strategy in a really basic human truth.
Yes, the closing advice is crucial. While you're busy building your strategy, building your life, you absolutely must remember that you are human.
That's such an important reminder. What practical things do they suggest to maintain that humanity, that balance?
Rest with intention, not just collapsing, but resting purposefully. Speak with respect, even when stressed. Influence with kindness, connecting back to that ethical approach, and shine with grace.
Rest with intention, speak with respect, influence with kindness, shine with grace. That feels like
Hmm.
the ethical compass in the human heart that has to guide the builder through all the intensity, right? Holding on to those values while still pushing hard.
It's that essential balance, yeah, between the relentless drive the city demands and just being a decent human being through it all.
So the core message we're taking away from this deep dive into the Naija hustle seems to be this. Yes, the city is incredibly demanding, the hustle is tough, the challenges are real, but that very process, it forges amazing strength and resilience within people. While the hustle, go hard.
You go harder. That's the takeaway.
You go harder. It's a powerful testament to how meeting those challenges can actually transform you. So for you listening, as you navigate whatever intense environment you might be in, the advice seems to be, keep your mind sharp, keep your spirit high, and keep your hustle clean.
And maybe here's a final thought, something provocative to mull over from this source. Consider this. How might that really intense, demanding environment of a bustling city with all its pressures actually be a unique kind of forge? Not just for building external success strategies, but for developing profound inner strength, deep resilience, and a much clearer understanding of yourself. Could the hustle itself actually be a path to personal transformation?